All right, welcome back everyone. Um, we started our video last week by setting up an experiment, and I told you that when we came back together, we were going to take that experiment and use it to learn a little more about eggs. So last week we took our egg and we filled a jar with vinegar or a cup, and hopefully what you noticed is that throughout the week, that shell on the outside of your egg started to dissolve. It was breaking down in that vinegar and going away. That was part of what that foam that you may have noticed on your vinegar. That was just kind of that shell dissolving and causing a reaction there. And so I kept track of my observations, and what I noticed is that right away there were bubbles on the outside of my egg. Throughout the week, I could start to see through that shell. I started to notice what looked like foam on top of the vinegar. And by the time I got to today, day 7, I could definitely see into the egg. Okay, if we shine a flashlight up to my egg, we'd be able to see kind of what's inside. But I really started to notice that yellow yolk about day 3 or 4. I could already start to see some of that shine through. And an egg that hasn't been soaked, there's no way I'm seeing that yellow yolk, okay? So what you should do if you have not yet is take your egg out of your vinegar. I already drained mine, and I rinsed it off carefully, and I've noticed some things already. First of all, my egg is larger, and that's because through osmosis, it has soaked up some more water particles from our vinegar, and so it's larger because it contains more water. That shell that was on the outside was keeping that out, and so my egg is bigger. These two are from the same carton, okay? So you can see how much smaller this was before I put it in vinegar. We put them right next to each other, okay? I noticed some other cool things, and we're going to talk about all of that. Something else you might notice is that it's kind of squishy. This will bounce, but don't make a mess. Okay, if you're gonna try that, make sure you're like in your sink first. So that's something you could test out in a little bit. Now, what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna use two. I'm gonna use both the egg I took the shell from, and I'm gonna use a fresh egg so that we can crack that open in a bit and look at that. And we're gonna talk about all the parts of an egg. So I'm hoping last week that you checked out the My Family's Egg Farm book. If you haven't, go back to last week's video and check out that link. It's a really great book. I have some I hope to bring to your classrooms next year. And you can order one if you would like a book. You can order those from the Iowa Ag Literacy Foundation, but you can read it online too. So you don't have to have that paper copy to read that. Now, we are today going to talk about all these parts. I know you're already familiar with the shell. Most of you are familiar with the yolk and what we call the white, but it does have another name. So we're going to look at all these parts. Your job, if you want to be entered in for a prize this week, once you're done with the video, you can find this worksheet. And all the names of the parts of our egg are down here to be cut out and then put in the right spot, okay? I'll come back to that at the end, but just so you know what you're paying attention for. Okay, we're gonna start by talking about the shell of our egg. So I'm gonna grab my fresh egg here. You are all familiar with that white hard shell on the outside, the part that cracks so easily. And the purpose of that is that it protects that egg. So when we eat eggs, there's no chick. They are not fertilized eggs. They are produced for people to eat. But when a chicken is born, that's because an egg has been fertilized, and so a chick would grow in here. And even though there's no chick present, our eggs still have all the parts they would need to grow a chick. And so we're going to talk about how that would happen. So the purpose of that shell is to be really protective, but that shell has tiny pores that do allow oxygen in and out. Okay, that chick needs air. So we've got our shell. The next thing you notice, if you took the shell from yours last week, you can see and feel this membrane. Okay, a membrane, we have membranes throughout our body in different places. Our cells have membranes and they allow protection of whatever's inside. So this soft membrane keeps out bacteria. Okay, just like we don't want harmful bacteria, other organisms like chicks need to be protected from that too. So the shell lets oxygen in, but then there's another layer with this membrane to keep out things we don't want in our egg. Okay, now this is hard to see, and I'm going to grab my illustration to show you. There's not a great way to see this, but we know that up here at the top, at the large side of our egg, there's what's called an air cell. And it's kind of a pocket that's between the membrane and the shell. And what that does is it holds oxygen for the chick. So it's like a storage container. Now, if you look at the one that is missing its shell here, I can see where that air cell is. You can look at the end of that. I can see that. But there's not a great way to open this up and find that cell. Sometimes if you hard boil an egg, when you take off the shell, you'll notice kind of, it seems like a pocket, and that's where that air cell was. Okay? Now, the next part, I'm gonna crack open my fresh egg. If I wanna crack this thing, I'm gonna need a knife and I'm gonna have a big mess. So I'm gonna start with a fresh egg here. I'll show you what I'm doing. Got a wet one. Remember, those eggs do have bacteria that you don't want on your hands. So I'm going to crack my egg here. There we go. And actually, we can see that air cell. It's hard for you to see, but if you crack your own open, you could probably see that. Right in the top there, there's like this pocket, and that's our air cell. Okay? Awesome. So now we're going to look at our raw egg, and I'll hold this up for you. The next thing that you're familiar with is what you call an egg white. It's this sticky, clear part. Its real name is an albumin. Okay? Now, that white is there as protection for a chick. So if there was a chick in our egg, it's cushioning this yellow yolk, and it's going to protect our chick. Okay, next, these are hard to see, and I'm looking, I can see mine, but I'm not sure that on camera you could see into my bowl. On your own egg, you might be able to notice this. But what we have here, if we look, they look like strings in this illustration. And those are called chalazi. I think I'm saying that right. I just had to look. I had to look it up, guys. And the purpose of those is they are cords that hold that yolk in the middle so that it's floating. Okay, and if you're looking in your own egg, you might notice they almost look kind of stringy, but they're really the same color as your egg white. They don't look a lot different, so they are hard to point out. Okay, moving on. I'm looking at my yolk. I don't see this. Oh, there it is. It's clear at the end. Let's see if I can point it out to you. Grab my pointer here. I don't know. Guys, I am not a professional movie maker. Okay, if you look on my yellow yolk here, you kind of see a white spot. It's hard to see there, but it's right on this end. And that white spot, we'll look at our illustration, okay, is called a germinal disc. Now, this is the mom, the hen. This is her genetic material. So just like when you were born, your parents passed on DNA. They passed on genetics to you. And chances are you might have the same hair color as one of your parents. You probably have similar features. Your eye colors are similar. Those are all things from your genetics. And a hen passes that on to her chick through this germinal disc. Okay? Now, we kind of skipped over our yolk, but we'll come back to that yolk. That yellow yolk that you're familiar with is full of food for the chick. So it's full of fats and carbohydrates and vitamins and nutrients. And those are the same vitamins and nutrients you get when you eat an egg. So those are full of what we call good fats. They're fats that are good for your brain function and good for your cells. And it's full of the nutrients that's going to feed a chick while it is in that egg. Okay, so it does have a purpose. Now, the only thing I skipped over here, if we look, oh, I didn't skip it, I'm sorry. We did talk about that membrane. So if you look at this whole diagram, now that you've seen through your egg, we know that our shell was on the outside. Our experiment gave us a chance to look at that membrane and to feel how soft it is. It's a protective barrier. We did talk about our air cell that's in the top of our egg. Okay, moving on, you know that the yolk gives nutrition. That albumin or that white is kind of a protection. It's going to keep that chick protected. It has some moisture. We've got our air cell for oxygen. Our germinal disc has all that DNA that mom wants to pass on. And then our cords here are holding everything in place so that it's not just moving all around. We do need this to kind of stay somewhat in place for our chick to get all that nutrient. Okay? So when you eat an egg, you're getting all of those same nutrients, those same good fats, protein, all those things that a chick needs to grow healthy. And an egg is a really nutritious food for people. Okay, so I didn't like eggs for a long time. I'm a fan now. My favorite way to eat them now is a little soft in the middle. But I was not a fan of eggs for a long time, which is kind of weird. But now you know something weird about me. Okay, so back to your job for the week. I hope that you did this experiment. If you didn't, you still can. This is really fun to check out, and I told you this will bounce. I'm not going to try it next to my computer, but that will bounce a little bit. Try it in your sink. Don't make a mess that your family needs to clean up. But if you want to enter for the prize this week, what I would like you to do is either find this worksheet on our website, and you can cut these names out and put them in the right spot, or if you don't have a printer, that's okay. What you can do instead is sketch this drawing and label those parts yourself. Okay, so you have a couple options, but once you've done that, send me a picture of this. Send me a picture of your experiment if you did it. I just want to see what kind of fun you're having. And then I will enter your name for a prize. Okay, when we come back next week, Mrs. Wagner is going to join us. She's going to help me out with these videos, and she misses all of you too. So I hope you had fun with your experiment. Please don't make a mess. Check out the website for all of the links you need to finish this week. Take care, guys.